Well, greetings to all our ladies and gentlemen that are here to honor God and to study His Torah. Today is a wonderful day. I have to admit it that this week, even though it's not the favorite of all my Torah parshas, it is one of my favorites. And because God demonstrated for Moses and the children of Israel that He is able to supply their needs in abundance, so that they had, at the end of it, it says they had quail to eat for 30 days from that one hunting trip. You heard the jokes about the Cajuns, how good they are with hunting duck and quail. Well, there was a banker that was really wanting to go out hunting with this Cajun because he'd heard rumors how that this Cajun, he just didn't miss shots with hunting quail. So he arranged to meet him, and they went out, and I guess it was duck, not quail. But anyway, they were out there near the water, and this Cajun, he would do his duck calls, and then flies all these ducks, and they're flying in low, and they're coming in over the water, and so finally he tells this banker, he says, "Get them, shoot them," and so he goes, "Bam, bam, 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 bam," and not one duck fell to the water. This Cajun looked at him and says, "Hey, man, what's the matter? Don't you know how to hunt? Let's try that again." So he brings in another bunch of ducks, and they're coming in, they're gliding in over the water, and they're splashing in the water as they splash down. You know how they do. And the banker went after it again, and bam, 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 bam. Didn't get one duck. And that Cajun looked at him so disgusted. He says, "Hey, man, what's the matter with you? Don't you know how to hunt?" He said, "Let me show you how this is done." So he called in another bunch of duck, and they're all flying in low, coming in over the water. And he goes and just waits and waits till it's just right. Kabam! And duck falling all over the place. And so he gets his dog, says, "Go bring him back." So Doug starts bringing back ducks that have been shot with one shot. And when he got through, the Cajun says, "Go get that other duck." And he says, "What are you talking about, that other duck?" He said, "Well, there were 99 pellets in that one shot, and I only counted 98 fall." So anyway, God's like that. He don't miss. He's an amazing hunter. He's an amazing provider. And this week he provided for 1.6 million people something like a whole month's worth of quail. A whole month's worth in one hunting trip. Anyway, I know that's not quite as exacerbated as the Cajun hunting, but mine's true. Mine's real. All right. Well, I guess we'll pray, and then we'll get started with our Bible study. Avinu Shabbat Shemayim, our Father who is in the heavens, you are the mighty God, El Gibor, and we love you. We want to know more about you. We want to study your word so we can get to know you better. And we ask you, Lord, to be with us as we study tonight. Open up our hearts and minds and our souls to your teachings. We ask you to teach us tonight. Feed our spirits, Lord, and help us to truly get it. Everybody say it. Lord, I'm hungry.
Lord, I'm hungry.
I ask you to feed me. And I'm thirsty, Lord. I ask you for living water. enough so that I'll have plenty for everybody I minister to.
Enough so have plenty for everybody that I minister to.
And I ask this in the name of Messiah Yeshua,
And I ask in the name of Messiah Yeshua,
who supplied all this quail for Israel
who supplied all this quail for Israel
in this week's Torah Parsha.
in this week's Torah Parsha.
Thank you, Lord, for
Thank
meeting
you,
our
Lord,
needs.
for meeting our needs.
Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah. If that don't get you excited, I don't know what will. Check your pulse. Let's see if you're still there. It makes a lot of difference when you have people in the Bible study who really want to learn. And I see two guys in my classroom here that want to learn more than most people I know. And God's going to bless you tonight. If I can get off my microphone cable without breaking it. Now, all right, I'll just take it verse 1, line 1 first. Vaydaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor. And Yahweh worded to Moses, saying, the Hebrew language is just a bit different than English. And we would never say, well, David worded to the congregation saying, you know, that's just not the way, it doesn't sound right. It's not proper grammar, not for English. Verse 2, Daber el Aharon. Who is Aharon? Aaron. He's the Cohen. He's the high priest. The Martah, and you say, Elav, to him, when you light the lamps. Now here, the word light is alotkha. Now the root is alal. Allah means to go up. And it's talking about like with smoke or with fire. So, and when you, here's the U on the end of it, alot is the root. If I can get my pen to cooperate with me here. Alot, when you cause to go up, the lamps, nerot. Nerot. The ot on the end of it pluralizes a feminine form of a word. So, ner would be a feminine word, and when you pluralize it, you would say nerot. Ot is a sign of a plural feminine direct object, or cause that is the direct object, because here's the sign of the direct object just before it. There we go. That's the it on the right side of it here is just an indicator of a direct object. So you'll know what the direct object is that's being acted upon by the verb. So hanerot are the lamps that are put in the menorah. How many lamps are in the menorah? Huh? Well, there's
7.
There's 7. And why are there 10? Why aren't there 10?
Well, it's not Hanukkah.
That's right. We don't have a Hanukkah menorah here. This is a temple menorah. So there are only 7 lamps. And so et hanerot, the lamps are then feminine because they contain oil, and It's kind of like the womb. It's sitting there waiting to fulfill its function. And mul panei ha-menorah. This is unto the face of, or over against the face of, ha-menorah. The menorah is the seven-stemmed candle holder. It's 7 branches on it. And it has 7 oil containers. And the intention is that there are going to be plenty of light inside the Holy of Holies for the priesthood to see the work that they're doing is done correctly. Now, ha'ieru is, and it shall give forth its light. Ear, that is not city, that's light. There's another word that's similar, ear, but it's got an ayin in front of it instead of an aleph. So here is the aleph, and here is the ayin. So if this was an ayin, then we would know that means cities. Brings a whole world of scriptures to mind. For example, in Matthew chapter 5, it talks about a city that's on a hill cannot be hidden. Why? Because the city at night lights lamps so that they can see to go about their evening chores. But here, this is not cities. This is the word that says you shall set the oil on fire so that it goes up toward the heavens, and that's the fuel for the candles. And it says, and the lamps over against the candlestick shall give light. Ya'iru, give light. And then Shivat HaNerot. That's 7 candles, 7 lamps. Verse 3. Why do you think God wanted so many candles giving light? Okay, let's massage those little brain cells there. Okay, just picture yourself just massaging those things and say, just speak to it gently and say, give up your information. Give up your information. Help me to know why I would need 7 candles. Let me know what the answer is. Speak to me, brain. Well, it's because there's more than one priest working in that area. There's plenty to do in the holy place, in the most holy place. So he lit the lamps thereof as Yahweh had commanded at Moses. So what the commanded action is pointed towards Moses by Yahweh. Yahweh is doing the commanding, and the tzivah is the word that's that is the action. That's the verb. Tzivah, he commanded Moses. And Yahweh is the one who is doing the commanding, and here is again the sign of the direct object. It's important to know that word is a sign of the direct object, because if you're reading along in Hebrew and you want to know what the verb is and what it's pointed at, this word tells you the object of the sentence. So Moses is the object of the sentence. Aaron lit the lamps thereof as Yahweh had commanded Moses. So you can see that Moses is the direct object here. Is this helpful?
So far, yes. I'd be lying if I said it was easy.
Well, I would be lying if I said it was easy.
It's helpful, absolutely.
V'zeh ma'aseh, this is the work, ha-menorah, of the candlestick. Mikshah means beaten. It's a beaten object. It was according to the pattern which Yahweh had shown Moses. So, Oseh et ha-menorah. And so was the work of the menorah, as it was done according to the plan that God showed Moses. If it were easy to understand all this stuff, then everybody would be doing it. Verse 5, and Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, or Yahweh worded to Moses, saying, Kach et ha-levim, leviim. Take et, that's the sign of the direct object. Take et ha-leviim. Mitok, from among B'nai Israel, the children of Israel. V'tiharta, and cleanse otam, cleanse them. Notice that here, again, we have the sign of the direct object. Et, let me get back up here. Okay, here it is here, just the direct object. And here, otam is them with, along with the direct object, et. Can you see?
But with different vowels?
Huh? Yeah, the vowels are different.
Okay.
But you have to change the vowels for this. Okay, we have a blessing or a song that we sing to Yahweh, and it's the Anu Ohavim Alotkha. Anu, that's we. Ohavim, love, plural. Alotkha, you, singular. And alotkha has got that et in the beginning of the word. Otam here is the Levites that are taken from among the children of Israel are going to be cleansed. Otam, them. So that's a plural form. And this part that's highlighted, that is the sign of the direct object connected with them. You follow me? So that you know that it's all of the Levites from among the children of Israel that were taken. Now, kach is what a man does when he finds the right woman and he wants to marry her. He's going to take her. And she's going to have to agree to it or it's not going to work. You don't want to get a wife that doesn't want to cooperate with you, okay? That's not a good idea. I can tell you those are bad mistakes. Verse 7. V'ko, and this, ta'aseh, you shall do. Here's, you shall do is, ta is you, attached to the front. Aseh, this is what you are going to do. It's not done yet, but it's scheduled to be done. So it's going to be a fulfilled instruction. And this you shall do unto them, lahem. Latah lataharam, to cleanse them. This is what you're going to do in order to cleanse them. Hazeh, sprinkle aleihim, on them, may, that's the waters of chatat, of cleansing, of purification. V'he'eviru, shave them with a razor. Ta'ar, and let them, all means upon every part of their flesh, and let them wash their flesh and their clothes. One more word here to look at. V'hit haru, and that means, and they will be made clean. So we have to wash their flesh and their clothes, and then they will be made clean. Verse 8. V'lakachu, let them take par, a bullock, a young bull. Ben Bakar, a son of the beaveries, of the beeves, with his meat offering, which is the bloodless grain offering. Solet, fine flour. Balula, which is mingled with bashaman, with oil. Par, and a bull, another bull, sheni, a second bull. Ben Bakar, a child of a yearling, basically, of the herd. And you shall take a sin offering. You shall bring the Levites before the tabernacle. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to easier to read version so we can make some headway. Okay. You are to present the Levim in front of the tent of the appointments and assemble the entire community of the people of Israel. You will present the Levim before Yahweh. The people of Israel will lay their hands on the Levim. What does it mean to lay hands on the Levim? You can guess, it's okay.
To pray over it, or to...
That's exactly what they're going to do.
Is that what that means, though?
That's exactly what it's going to do. That's what they're planning to do. Lay their hands on the Levim. Why? Because they're going to be offered as a wave offering before the Lord. And they won't have a choice in it. Aaron will offer the Levim before Yahweh as a wave offering from the people of Israel so that they may do Yahweh's service. When we get offerings in, I take the offerings and put them in an envelope, and I wave them before the Lord, and I say, Father, this is your offering. This is presented so that we can do the work of your ministry. So this is transferring ownership from the people directly to Yahweh. And that's how the wave offerings were done. Aaron will offer the Levim before Yahweh as a wave offering from the people of Israel so that they may do Yahweh's service. The Levim will lay their hands on the heads of the bulls, and one of you will offer as a sin offering. One of them you will offer as a sin offering, and the other as a burnt offering unto Yahweh to make atonement for the Levim. You are to place the Levim before Aaron and his sons and offer them as a wave offering unto Yahweh. In this way you will separate the Levim from the people of Israel, and the Levim will belong to me. After that, the Levim will enter and do the service to me. The service of the tent of the appointments. You will cleanse them and offer them as a wave offering. Now, I tried to imagine this as a kid reading this. And I'm saying let's say they got 80 Levite. And even if they're children, that would be hard to do, to try to wave all those Levites before the Lord to be part of his service. We just talked about like 20 and 30 and 40,000 sons of Levi doing different job functions just last week, right? So how in the world do they wave these Levites before Yahweh? Hello. Well, they don't do it the way Gentiles imagine it. The whole group of Levites are lifted up as one man before the Lord as a wave offering unto the Lord, and that's what you do with the things that are dedicated for his service. And so the Levites are now being dedicated for the service unto Yahweh. So they will be praying prayers over them, saying something like, okay, Lord, these are no longer regular Israelites, but they are a wave offering before you because they are entering your service. You follow me?
Yes, so far.
Now, when we do, and I'm going to ask Shane to kind of explain this one for us. When we do the prayers for cleansing at the time of mikvah, what has to happen before it becomes a true cleansing?
The waters have to meet the requirements, biblically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
They have to not be in flow, so to speak. They need to be running at a calm pace, peaceful pace, not being stirred by many bodies at one time. And there needs to be a witness.
And the witness is?
Usually a rabbinic rabbi.
Okay. So the rabbi then, what's his function?
Is to witness in regards to this person's prayers for the purpose of their mikvah.
And he's to make sure that everything was done in accordance with the instructions of Scripture.
Yes.
And to declare it with his lips. He can't not declare it.
Right.
If he doesn't declare it, then they didn't get cleansed.
Right.
So everything has to be done in a sequentially according to the specifications of Torah.
Okay.
So we don't just go dunk people in water and say, you're cleansed. No.
Next.
Yeah. It sounds like that the Lord and the disciples in the New Testament were doing them one at a time and blah, 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 you know. Well, it doesn't have to be one at a time. You can do 10 or 20 of them at once. So, but there does have to be a declaration for each person.
Okay. No blanket declaration type of thing.
Well, yes and no. As long as it is worded properly, then it will cover for all of those who are being immersed and cleansed. So you have to make sure that the wording is appropriate for, You know, if you look at a document that's generated for a court, they are very careful with the wording. And that if you don't word it properly, then any fool could come along and reword things, and then it would fail to be a proper, lawfully binding document. So we're doing the same thing here, only as before the heavenly court. After that, the Levim will enter into and do the service of the tent of the appointments. You will cleanse them, offer them as a wave offering. Boy, that didn't work in my pea little brain when I was younger, trying to read these things and make sense out of it. Okay, well, so now that I know more about what a wave offering is, and I understand that the Levites become a wave offering unto the Lord, now I can understand what God is doing with this ceremony. It says, because they are entirely given to me from among the people of Israel. I have taken them for myself in place of all of those who come first out of the womb. You know, the Bible says that the firstborn belongs to the Lord. And so instead of taking all of the firstborn of Israel, he has taken the Levites to be his dedicated offering, if you will, a wave offering. So the firstborn males of the people of Israel have been basically replaced by the Levites as the property belonging to God.
Okay.
All of the firstborn from among the people of Israel are mine. In the land of Egypt I set them apart for myself. But I have taken the Levim in place of all the firstborn among the people of Israel. I have given the Levim to Aharon and to his sons from among the people of Israel to do the service of the people of Israel in the tent of the meeting, and to make atonement for the people of Israel, so that no plague will fall on the people of Israel in consequence to their coming too close to the sanctuary. This is what Moshe and Aaron and all the community of Israel did to the Levim. The people of Israel acted in accordance with everything Yahweh had ordered Moses in regard to the Levim. And the Levim purified themselves and washed their clothes, and then Aaron offered them as a holy gift before Yahweh and made atonement for them in order to cleanse them. After that, the Levim came to do their service in the tent of the meeting in front of Aaron and his sons, and they acted in accordance with Adonai's orders to Moses in regard to the Levim. Yahweh said to Moses, here are the instructions concerning the Levim. This is the tribe of Levi that he's dealing with. When they reach the age of 25, they are to begin performing their duties, serving in the tent of the meeting, or the appointments. And when they reach the age of 50, they are to stop performing this work and not serve any longer. They will assist their brothers who are performing their duties in the tent of the meeting, but they themselves will not do any of the work, for this is what you are to do with the Levim in regard to their duties. Now, I've got a book called the Mishnah. The Mishnah is the first level of commentary on the obedience to Torah. And it tells you how, in early times, that the commandments were applied, and how we were to honor, for example, the Levites and the people of Israel, and how that these things were working as a cleansing on the ones who are going to work in the temple. chapter 9, Yahweh spoke to Moses in the Sinai desert in the first month of the second year after they had left the land of Egypt. He said, "Let the people of Israel observe Pesach at its designated time. On the 14th day of this month at dusk, you are to observe it at its designated time. You are to observe it according to all of its regulations and rules." Moses told the people of Israel to observe Pesach. So they observed Pesach at dusk on the 14th day of the month in Sinai desert. And the people of Israel acted in accordance with all that Yahweh had ordered Moses. But there were certain people who had become unclean because of someone's corpse. They couldn't be contaminated by a corpse and still observe Passover. So that they could not observe Pesach on that day. So they came before Moses and Aaron that day and said to him, "We are unclean because of someone's corpse. Why must we be kept from bringing the offering for Yahweh at that time designated for the people of Israel?" Moses answered them, "Wait, so I can hear what Yahweh will order concerning you." Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell the people of Israel, if any of you now or in the future generations is unclean because of a corpse, or if he is on a trip abroad, nevertheless he is to observe Pesach. But he will observe it in the second month on the 14th day at dusk," and that actually at dusk there, if you look it up in the Hebrew, it clearly says between Erevim. Each day has an opening and a closing Erev, evening. Let me just bring that up. Okay. B'chodesh hashani arav ba'ah, on the 14th Esar. That's 14. At the 14th day at Bain ha'arbaim. If you look this up, Bain actually means between, and ha'aravim means plural evenings, between evenings. So you've got an opening evening and a closing evening. So it's very clear in the Hebrew that they're talking about the beginning and ending evenings of the 14th day of the month. But because the rabbis are very, don't know how to put the word, I wanted to say persnickety, but they're very careful with the way they interpret these things. And so saying between evenings is actually not the literal meaning of Bain Arabim. He said that they keep it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, and they shall eat it. Verse 12. Not they shall leave me menu, any from it, unto boker, the morning. The etzam, and the bones shall not be broken, any of it. According to all the ordinances of Passover, they shall keep it. Okay. But the man who tahor, the man that he is clean, and in a journey is not is in forbeareth to keep the Passover, a little clumsy wording there, even shall be cut off the soul, that same soul, from among his people. Ki karban, because it is an offering unto Yahweh, not he brought his appointed season, his sin, which shall bear the man that is he. Clumsy reading. Okay, let's look at it in an easier to read firm form here. Let me go up a little. So they are matzah and maror, the bitter herbs in the matzah, unleavened bread. They are to leave none of it until morning, and they are not to break any of its bones. They to observe it according to all of the regulations of Pesach. But the person who is clean he will observe it in the second month on the 14th day of the month. They are to eat it with matzah and maror. And they are to leave none of it until morning, and they are not to break any of its bones. They are to observe it according to all of the regulations of Pesach. And then, but of the person who is clean and not on a trip, who fails to observe Pesach, will be cut off from his people, because he did not bring the offering for Yahweh at its designated time. He did not bring the offering of Adonai at its designated time. That person will bear the consequences of his sin. If a foreigner is staying with you and wants to observe Pesach for Yahweh, he is to do it according to the regulations and rules of Pesach. You are to have the same law for the foreigner as for the citizen of the land. So everybody's obeying the same instructions. On the day the tabernacle is set up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, that is the tent of the testimony, and in the evening over the tabernacle was what appeared to be fire, which remained until morning. So the cloud always covered it, and it looked like fire at night. Whenever the cloud was taken up from the tent, the people of Israel continued their travels, and they camped wherever the cloud stopped. At the order of Yahweh, the people of Israel traveled, and at the order of Yahweh, they camped. At the order of Yahweh, the people of Israel traveled. At the order of Yahweh, they camped. And as long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle, they stayed in camp. Even when the cloud remained on the tabernacle for a long time, the people of Israel did what Yahweh had charged them to do and did not travel. Sometimes the cloud was a few days over the tabernacle. According to Yahweh's order, they remained in the camp. And according to Yahweh's order, they traveled. Sometimes the cloud was there only from evening until morning, so that when the cloud was taken up in the morning, they traveled. Let me see where I left off here. Okay, there it is. Whether it was 2 days, a month, or a year, that the cloud remained over the tabernacle, staying on it, the people of Israel remained in the camp and did not travel. But as soon as it was taken up, they traveled. As Yahweh's order, they camped, and at Yahweh's order, they traveled. They did what Yahweh had charged. It was work reading all this. Well, it's 8 o'clock, so I want to kind of get this to moving so we can get to the best quail hunt in history. So Yahweh instructed 2 trumpets to be made of hammered silver, use them for summoning the community and for sounding the call to break camp and to move on. When they are sounded, the entire community is to assemble before you at the entrance of the tent of the meeting or the appointments. If only one is sounded, then just the leaders and the heads of the clans of Israel are to assemble before you. When you sound an alarm, and the camps to the east will commence traveling. When you sound the second alarm, the camps to the south will set out, and they will sound alarms to announce when to travel. However, when the community is to be assembled, you are to sound, but don't sound an alarm. It will be the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, who are to sound the trumpets. This will be a permanent regulation for you throughout all your generations. When you go to war in your land against an adversary who is oppressing you, you are to sound an alarm with the trumpets. When you will be remembered before Yahweh your God, and you will be saved from your enemies. Also on your days of rejoicing, at your designated times, and on Rosh Chodesh, you are to sound the trumpets over the burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings. These will be your reminder before your God that I am Yahweh your God. On the 20th day, on the 2nd month of the 2nd year, the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle of the testimony. The people of Israel moved out in stages from the Sinai desert. The cloud stopped in the Paran desert. So they set out on their first journey in keeping with Adonai's order through Moses. In the lead was the banner of the camp of the descendants of Yehudah, whose companies moved forward. Over his company was Nachshon, the son of Amminadab, over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Issachar was Nathaniel, the son of Tzuar. Over the company of the descendants of Zebulun was Eliav, the son of Helon. Verse 17, then the tabernacle was taken down, and the descendants of Gershon and the descendants of Merari set out, carrying the tabernacle. Next, the banner of the camp of Reuben moved forward by companies over his company, and was Elitzur, the son of Shedeur. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Shimon was Shelumiel. I want to skip on down and try to get to the great quail hunt. I think it's at the beginning of the next chapter. Yeah. Chapter 11, verse 1, but the people began complaining about their hardships to Yahweh. When Yahweh heard it, his anger flared up, so that fire from Yahweh broke out against them and consumed the outskirts of the camp. Then the people cried to Moses, and Moses prayed to Yahweh, and the fire abated. And that place was called Tavarah, the burning, because Yahweh's fire broke out against them. Next, the mixed crowd that was with them grew greedy for an easier life, while the people of Israel, for their part, also renewed their weeping and said, "If only we had meat to eat." Woe is us, we don't have any meat to eat. Oh, man. Verse 5. We remembered the fish we used to eat in Egypt. Escargot. It cost us nothing. And the cucumbers and melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now we're withering away. We have nothing to look at but this manna. The man, by the way, was like coriander seed and white like gum resin. The people would go around gathering it, and it would grind up in the mills or pound it into paste with mortar and pestle, and then they would cook it in pots and make it into loaves, and that tasted like cakes being baked with olive oil. Kind of sounds good. When the dew settled on the camp during the night, the man came with her. Moshe heard the people crying, family after family, each person at the entrance to his tent. And the anger of Yahweh flared up violently, and Moses too was displeased. Moshe asked Yahweh, "Why are you treating your servant so badly? Why haven't I found favor in your sight so that you put the burden of this entire people on me? Did I conceive these people? Was I their father, so that you tell me carry them on your arms like a nurse carrying a baby to the land you swore to give to their ancestors? Where am I going to get meat to give to this entire people? Because they keep bothering me with their crying, saying, 'Give us meat to eat.' I can't carry this entire people by myself." Larry, doesn't that sound like me at times?
No comment.
If you're going to treat me this way, then just kill me outright, please. If you have any mercy towards me, and don't let me go on to being this, then don't let me go on being this miserable. Yahweh said to Moses, "Bring me 70 of the leaders of Israel, people you recognize as leaders of the people and officers of theirs. Bring them to the tent of the meeting and have them stand here with you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the spirit which rests on you and put it on them. Then they will carry the burdens of the people along with you, so that you won't carry it yourself all alone." Levivado, something like that. Tell the people, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you will eat meat, because you cried in the ears of Yahweh. If only we had meat to eat. We had the good life in Egypt. All right, Adonai is going to give you meat, and you will eat it, and you won't eat it just 1 day or 2 days or 5 days or 10 or 20 days, but a whole month. That's a long time. Until it comes out of your nose and you hate it. Because you have rejected Yahweh, who is here with you, and distressed him with your crying and asking, "Why did we ever leave Egypt?" But Moses said, "Here I am, Hineni, with 600,000 men on foot. And yet you say, I will give them meat to eat for a whole month. If whole flocks and herds were slaughtered for them, would it be enough? If all the fish in the sea were collected for them, would even that be enough? Yahweh answered, has Yahweh's arm grown too short? Now you will see whether what I say will happen or not. I think Moses got a little rebuke here. Moses went out and told the people what Yahweh said. Then he collected 70 of the elders of the people and placed them all around the tent. Yahweh came down in the cloud and spoke to him, took some of the spirit that was in him, on him, and put it on the 70 elders. When the spirit came to rest upon them, they prophesied, but then not afterwards. Then, but not afterwards. There were two men who stayed in the camp, one named Eldad and the other Medad. The Spirit came to rest upon them, and they were among those who listed to go out to the tent, but they hadn't done so. They prophesied in the camp. A young man ran and told Moshe, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Yehoshua the son of Nun, who from his youth had been with Moses' assistant, answered, my Lord, stop them. But Moses replied, are you so zealous to protect me? I wish all of Yahweh's people were prophets. I wish Yahweh would put his spirit on all of them. Moses and the leaders of Israel went back to the camp, and Yahweh sent out a wind which brought quails from across the sea. Let them fall near the camp, about a day's trip away on each side of the camp, and all around it, covering the ground to a depth of 3 feet. You couldn't even see the ground for all the quail. Can God hunt? The people stayed up all that day, all night, and all the next day gathering quails. The person gathering the least collected 10 heaps. Then they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. But while the meat was still in their mouth, before they had chewed it up, the anger of Yahweh flared up against the people, and Yahweh struck the people with terrible plague. Therefore that place was called Kivrot HaTahava, the graves of greed. Because there they buried the people who were so greedy. From Kivrot HaTahava, the people traveled on to Hatzorot, and there they stayed at Hatzorot. Miriam and Aaron in chapter 12. Oy Gevalt, we haven't heard the end of it. Miriam and Aaron began to criticize Moses on account of the Ethiopian woman he had married. For he had in fact married an Ethiopian woman. They said, is it true that Yahweh has spoken only with Moses? Oy, oy, oy. Hasn't he spoken with us too? Yahweh heard them. Now this man Moses was very humble, more so than anyone on earth. And suddenly Yahweh told Moses, Aaron and Miriam, come out, you three, to the tent of the appointments. And the three of them went out. And Yahweh came down in a column of cloud and stood at the entrance to the tent. He summoned Aaron and Miriam, and they both went forward. And he said, listen to what I say. When there is a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak with him in a dream. But it isn't that way with my servant Moses. He is the only one who is faithful in my entire household. With him I speak face to face and clearly, not in riddles. He sees the image of Yahweh, so why weren't you afraid to criticize my servant Moses? The anger of Yahweh flared up against them as he left. Then the cloud was removed from above the tent, and Miriam had Zorot, as white as snow. That's leprosy, by the way. As white as snow. Aaron looked at Miriam, and she was as white as snow. Aaron said to Moshe, "Oh, my Lord, please don't punish her for this sin we committed so foolishly. Please don't let her be like a stillborn baby with his body half eaten away when it comes out of the mother's womb." Moshe cried to Yahweh, "Oh God, I beg you, please heal her." Yahweh answered Moshe, "If her father had merely spit in her face, wouldn't she hide herself in shame for 7 days? So let her be shut out of the camp for 7 days. After that, she can be brought back in." Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not travel until she was brought back. Afterwards, the people went on from Hatzorot and camped in the Paran desert. And that's the end of this week's Torah Parsha. A lot in it, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Take a pen and note the following verses. Zechariah 2, that's Zechariah chapter 2, verse 14, through chapter 4, verse 7. And that's the Haftorah. Haftorah is the prophetic portions that go along with this week's teaching. And then we have the Brit Hadashah readings for this week is Yochannan 19, 31 through 37. That's St. John chapter 19, verse 31 through 37. And Hebrews chapter 3, 1 through 6. And that will be it for this week's Torah Parshas and Haftorah and Brit Hadashah readings. And so we will discuss them at length further on Shabbat morning.
Excellent.
What do you think?
Good.
I guess.
Torah and Customs class, we want to welcome you back to our Shabbat services, which occur Saturday mornings, beginning with our 10 a.m. Bibles Issues class, followed by our 11 a.m. main service with worship, liturgy, and another teaching. And do remember, anytime you have any questions, please email the rabbi at asktherabbi@tzine.org or call our office at 512-452-8700. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again. Shalom, shalom.